Hello friends, it's Thursday and I'm getting kind of an early start to a weekend vlog that I'm going to film for you here. So I have decided that I'm going to be doing a themed reading vlog this long weekend. It's not really a long weekend, but my husband is going out of town, which makes it kind of a long weekend for me, or a long like relaxing weekend. I just want to pop on and let you know the plan. So the plan is I'm going to try to read dragon books this weekend. So I have several that I've gotten from my library. I have To Shape a Dragon's Breath by Monoquill Blackgoose checked out. I also have The Remarkable Retirement of Edna Fisher by E.M. Anderson checked out. I have Rebel Wing by Andrea Tang checked out. I have Ink Mistress by Audrey Colthurst checked out. And then I have Blaze Wrath Games by Amparo Ortiz. I got this idea because Goodreads has like the news and interview section, and in it they will sometimes do like themed recommendations, and I save some of those themes because I think they make good vlogs or like good content. So I put several of these books on hold. I've gotten them all in now. I actually have one that hasn't come in yet, which I'm kind of bummed about because it was one that I was really excited for, which is The Rage of Dragons by Evan Winter, because I think the rest of these are more, I don't even know if they're like lower fantasy, but it seems like some of like the Edna one, The Remarkable Retirement of Edna Fisher, seems a little like cozier fantasy. So we're gonna see how I feel about that. And then I think several of these are also YA. So it would have been nice to get a more like epic high fantasy book on this list, but you know, you win some, you lose some. So I'm gonna see how many of these books I can get through this weekend. So I have one ebook and 5 audiobooks. So I don't know if I'm gonna actually like listen to all 5 of these, but I'll, of course, you know, I'll update you with how I'm feeling about them as we go. But that's my update for right now, and I will catch you soon. Hello, it's still Thursday, but it's later now. It's like 6:30, and I wanted to give you some updates. So I did start Rebel Wing by Andrea Tang, I think is the author. And this one is, I realized that I haven't told you what these books are about. All I really know about any of them are that they are from this list on Goodreads that I already mentioned. But this one is about, our main character is Prudence Wu, I think. Wang, maybe? Starts with a W. I can't remember right now. She goes by Prue, and she is at this prep school. And this is a YA dystopian with dragons. And so the premise so far, I haven't really like looked at what the, well, actually I did read the Goodreads synopsis, and it's one of those that doesn't give like a very clear premise, which I find annoying. It could also be that my reading comprehension is not good. I don't know. It's a YA dystopian, and it's about this girl Prue, who is a scholarship student at this prep school. And in this dystopian future, instead of having like a government, it's a corporation that is in charge of North America. So it's Mexico, Canada, and the US, or it's made up of the countries that were formerly those countries. And there are like all these rules. It's actually reminding me a little bit of Upright Women Wanted, only in the sense that all sorts of media are banned. Like books are banned if they don't fulfill certain criteria. Anything not in English is banned. Books, movies, news, music. So there's all this banning going on and like censorship. And Prue works with one of her friends, Annabelle. And Annabelle is like the daughter of an important guy from the last war that created this government entity out of this corporation, if that makes sense. So Annabelle's like rich and his like storied, I don't know, but they are working together to smuggle things. And then there's this other guy, Alex, I think is his name, and he is the grandson of another person who was really big in this war. So he's also really rich, and his family is like really important. I think his last name is Lamarck. And also, it's so funny, the Canadians, or the people who were formerly Canadians, are the like top tier of society, which I just find humorous. I don't know why. Just like, I could look into it. I wonder if the author is Canadian. I don't know. I just think it's like funny that that's what it is. No offense if you are Canadian. I'm so used to like US centric media that like thinking of Canada as being like in charge of this like government faction created by war. It just doesn't seem very Canadian to me, but I know nothing, so whatever. I don't know why I think that's funny. I just do. There are dragons. And so apparently in the last war, I am having a hard time figuring out who the war was against, because it seems like there's rebels and there's like this corporation government. And these kids are restarting the rebel group, I guess. But the way they're doing that is they made this like motorized dragon called Rebel Wing. And all I know about it really so far is that our main character, when she interacts with it, she like becomes the dragon That's happened once. It's like they have like a deep connection, but the dragon is mechanical. It's a robot, I think. So that's interesting. But there are these other, like, apparently in the original war, there were these things called wyverns, which are these big dragons that were used by the other side to, like, attack something. I'm not super clear on the details, obviously. But that's what I'm reading right now. It's still definitely, like, again, I'm only, like, 17% of the way through. So I feel like the first chapter was, like, letting us know who Prue is. And we're still definitely in the, like, developing the world part of the book, where it's, like, explaining what's going on, which is fine. So that's all I wanted to say about that really so far. I have also started, when I was at the doctor in the waiting room, I started the ebook of The Remarkable Retirement of Edna Fisher, and it's cute so far. So the premise is there's this older woman who's living in, so it's a society where they know magic exists and dragons exist, but dragons are like wild animals that will occasionally like destroy towns and stuff. There's this like really bad wizard, I guess, who is, I can't remember his name, sorry, or her, I guess we haven't really found out who it is, but they are able to somehow like harness the dragons or get the dragons to do their bidding. And so they're destroying a bunch of things with the dragons and like attacking people in a way that dragons don't naturally act. And Edna doesn't have magical abilities that she knows of at the beginning of the book. She lives in this old folks home, retirement home, whatever. She's 83. And she chose this home. I guess I don't know that she doesn't have any magical abilities, but it's a non-magical retirement home. And she chose the home because it's the closest one to the cemetery, where I believe we're going to find out her son is buried. She's mentioned that she has a son. Could be her husband, I guess. I don't know. We'll find out. Somebody's buried in the cemetery and she goes to see them all the time. Sorry, I have like an eyelash in my eye and it's driving me nuts. She gets confronted by a wizard at her retirement home that she lives in. And he tells her that she is the chosen one. So it's a chosen one trope, but it's a subversion on the trope because it's an elderly woman. And so far it's fine. Like that's really all that's happened. I'm not even a full chapter in. I will let you know, of course, when I have more updates. I just wanted to give you this update while we're starting. It's Thursday. I think because Matt already went out of town for the weekend, it feels like the weekend. So I'm having to convince myself that I need to like go to sleep early and get up early to do work and stuff tomorrow, because like I don't want to leave my house. Anyways, I will let you know when I have another update. Hello, it's Friday. I am currently about a quarter of the way through Rebel Wing. I'm considering DNFing it. I'm just not that into it. I'm not that interested. It's, like I mentioned, it's like a robot dragon, and we've gotten to like the meat of the story now. Essentially, the dragon was created by this rebel group, like I mentioned, and apparently when Prue wrote it the first time, she like imprinted with it or something. So now she either has to be in on their plans or figure out if they will let her unimprint. And to be honest, I just don't really care that much, so I might DNF this one. It's just not really that interesting. It's not really holding my attention. So sorry to start this out on such a sour note. I will come back and let you know if I do decide to DNF it or not, but that's the update that I have. The other thing that I was going to say is it's reminding me a lot of a book that I read a few years ago. It was a duology, and it was about this like dystopian society where every like man inside the walls of the city has two wives, and one wife is like the caretaker of the children and the other wife is the caretaker of the home. And that one ended up being like a sapphic romance between the two characters, but it's similar in that like everyone who's outside of the wall is like a second class citizen, and so they're not like given the same rights as the people inside the wall. And in that one, the rebel group is trying to like free the people outside of the wall. I remember giving those books 3 stars. I thought they were fine, but it's a very similar like premise here. Like that's what's happening. It's everyone outside of the walls is a second class citizen, and that's why they're smuggling media to them, because apparently inside the walls you can have media, outside you can't. But I just don't know if I care. So I'll let you know for sure at some point, but right now I don't know. So talk soon. Hi, it's Friday again, but I do have an update, and the update is I think I haven't fully DNF'd Rebel Wing, but I'm no longer reading it. I picked up the Blaze Wrath games, by Amparo Ortiz. And this one is about, so it's another YA. And it's set in, it's like an urban fantasy. So it's set in Florida, partially. Like, we start out in Florida with this girl who is Puerto Rican, and her parents got divorced 12 years ago. And so she and her mom moved to the U.S., and her dad is still in Puerto Rico. Or actually, I think he's somewhere else now. But they left her dad in Puerto Rico, and she's brought it up like 1,000 times that she wishes she still lived in Puerto Rico, and Puerto Rico is always going to be her home, etc., etc., etc. So I think that's going to be important. I'm guessing that's why it's been brought up so many times. But she, there's a sport in this world called the Blaze Wrath Games, and it's played every 2 years, and the teams are from different countries, but only 2 countries play, and it's a sport that involves dragons. So there are 6 players who ride dragons, and there's 1 player who does not ride dragons called the Runner. The other thing about this world is some people have magic, like this girl's best friend, whose name I'm not going to remember right now. Sorry. Her best friend has magic. She does not. Her best friend's a witch. She is not. But she wants to be part of this Blaze Wrath Games thing. And the first part of the book, like the first 15%, is her figuring out how she's going to get on the team. And then she ends up getting on the Puerto Rican team, which is playing. Right now where I am, she's in Dubai, which is where the games are happening. And she's just meeting the rest of the team. She's playing for Puerto Rico. So she's very excited. I have a couple of like things to say. Like, I'm more intrigued in the plot of this one than I was in the plot of the other one, I think. And the other one, I think, is the same narrator who does the Poppy War. I don't like that narrator. So whatever it is about her voice, I just don't enjoy it. This one's fine. I mean, the narrator, it's fine. I was going to say a couple of other things. So I'm sorry I'm moving around so much. My arms get too tired to just sit here. But essentially, I'm liking this book. It feels like a 3-star, to be honest with you. Like, it could be a 4. Maybe, I think. But I just don't know if it's going to get there. But it's like, the writing style is just not really working for me. The plot is better than the last one. The writing style is worse for me. But it's like not badly written or like poorly written, but it's like something about it's just really not working. So the best I can do to describe it is there's a character who's British who keeps describing the weather. They're not in America. He keeps describing the weather in Fahrenheit. Like, he keeps calling it 100-degree day. Correct me if I'm wrong. Nobody but people in the US use Fahrenheit. So, like, if you go anywhere and say it's 100 degrees, people are going to be like, what the fuck are you talking about? Because they would say, like, 40 degrees or whatever it is in Celsius. 42. I don't know what it is in Celsius. It's hotter than I think a lot of people in England realize that 100 degrees is. But, like, that really bothers me. I don't love the narrator's accent for the British guy, but that's neither here nor there. I'm just going to get over it. And then the other thing that bothers me is, like, this author, every time she's describing someone's appearance, like a female character, their hip size is brought up. Like, the main character has wider hips than her mom, but her best friend has wider hips than her. And, like, half the players on this team are female, and each of them, she's brought up how narrow or how wide their hips are. And I don't understand why she's doing that. It's driving me nuts. But anyways, this sounds like a really negative review. It's not, but I'm not, like, as hyped on these books as I thought I was going to be. So anyways, I'm going to bed. I'm probably going to read a little bit more of the Edna Fisher book because I haven't read any more of that since yesterday. And hopefully I can finish that tomorrow. I'm planning on just reading tomorrow, to be honest with you. We'll see, because that's what I was going to do tonight, and then I ended up not being in the mood. Like, I just couldn't focus on anything. Part of it was that I didn't really like Rebel Wings, so I put that down. I got a different audiobook. But still, like, I'm not super into that one either. So I watched Erin Brockovich. I started it last night, and I finished it today. And I, like, flipped through what's on Netflix, and nothing looks good. I'm just, like, in a mood where nothing is appealing to me. Do you guys get like this? Like, I don't want to leave my house. But, like, I'm just bored. I'm bored in the house, and I'm in the house bored. You know what I mean? Okay. Anyways, I'll see you tomorrow. Hi, so I just filmed my wrap up. No, my TBR for February. So since this is set up, I figured I'd just pop in here and give you an update on what I'm doing. It's now Saturday, like evening almost. It's like 4 p.m. on Saturday. And I am like 70% way through Blaze Wrath Games. It's gonna be 3 stars, I can already tell. I just can't DNF a second book for the same vlog. I really like, I DNF a lot now, which I love. But I just feel bad DNFing another book in this vlog. So I'm not going to. I'm going to push through. It's interesting enough. There's some, like, interesting politics sort of at play. It's just a lot of, like, brain dump world building where, like, something will come up and the author will, like, explain what it is and then carry on. And, like, I just don't love it. You know, I'm not really into the writing style. It's also doing the thing that a lot of YA does. Again, I'm not a young adult. I'm 29 years old. I fully understand that this book is for teenagers and I'm not a teenager, right? But I've noticed that a lot of young adult books will include a lot of diversity, which is great, but it almost feels performative way. And you can let me know if you know what I'm talking about, but it's like there's a difference between a character being gay and it just being there and like it not being relevant to like the rest of the plot, but being very hyper focused on. And I don't know if that makes sense, but like it just feels a little bit like parts of this book are trying to compete in the diversity Olympics, and that is hard for me. I don't know, like it's not even the amount of diversity, it's the way that it's discussed. Does that make sense? Like I read another book that was a YA book that like every character like explained their pronouns, and it's like it's okay if you say like I'm Mary, my pronouns are she, her, like that's no big deal. But like the way that it was explained, it was like really just like beating a dead horse, and that's kind of how I'm feeling about this one. Also, I think I'm having the same issue with this book that I have with books that have a lot of battle, in that a lot of what's happening in these books is like this game that they're playing with the dragons, which I thought was going to be more interesting than it actually is. So I think this is a me thing. I think it's just not my vibe. But it's just not my vibe. So I'm going to continue it. I need to read more of the Edna Fisher book because that's the one that I've been enjoying the most, but it's an ebook, so I can't do anything else. And I've been working on my bullet journal pretty much all day. I can show you a little bit of it. I've decided I'm going to fill it out in advance instead of doing it as I go, because normally I want to do it as I go, but then I want it to be pretty, but then I don't ever do it in time, so then I don't use it for the first like 2 weeks. Sometimes I skip whole months because I'm not really using it. That's what happens to me every time I try to bullet journal. So this time I'm doing all of my months in advance. I picked out how many pages I would need. I did the math and we're working on it. I'm through September now. But I did do it a little out of order on accident, but I'll show you. So we have January. January was a car road trip theme. February, I really like this. It's based on The Swimmers, which is a cover that I really admire. This is my favorite one that I've done. And I did it's like waves. It's cute, right? And this is a quote from The Swimmers. It says, "If you swim for long enough, you no longer know where your own body ends and the water begins, and there is no boundary between you and the world. It's Nirvana," which is from The Swimmers by Julie Otsuka, which is a book that I want to reread, probably in February. Maybe that could have gone on my February TBR. It did not, because I'm sick of making whatever for myself. But this is my calendar, and I left a bunch of space over here. I don't know if I'm going to fill it in with something, but there's an option. My TBR, which I just did a video on, so that's fun. These are the readathons and the prompts, and these are the books that I'm going to read. Exciting. And then these are the weeklies that I chose for February. So she's cute. We like it. And then March, I did like a coffee shop, bookshop theme. I thought it was cute. And this is a quote from The Start of Me and You, and it says, "The getting there is the best part." It's from The Start of Me and You by Emery Lord. I am going to be rereading that book this year, hopefully. Maybe in March, since I did this whole thing for it. Wouldn't that be fun? This is the calendar spread. This is going to be my YouTube video planning. And these are the weeklies for March. I'm trying to do this quick so it's not boring, in case you don't care. April, I did this like Earth Day theme. And this is a quote from Starry Eyes by Jen Bennett. It says, "Adventure is just a state of mind," which I thought was sweet. This is probably where my TBR is going to go, by the way. That's why that page is blank, because I don't really decorate my TBR pages. I just sort of word vomit. These are the weeklies that I'm doing in April. I really liked this, so I used this a couple other times. So I watch people's videos, and that's how I come up with these ideas. In May, I wanted to do like a floral theme, so I did roses. And then I thought a quarter ferns and roses. So the quote says, "To the people who look at the stars and wish, to the stars who listen and the dreams that are answered," which is actually from A Court of Wings and Ruin, I think, but it'll be fine. So these are my roses. Aren't they pretty? And then this has a Dutch door, which I think is really fun. So I wish I did something to where you didn't just see half the quote, but I didn't think about it until after I did it. So this will be my TBR spread and just like other to-dos. This is my calendar. It's the busiest one yet, but I like her. And my weeklies for this is something I did in January of last year that I really liked. So these are what the weeklies look like, but they're all Dutch doors. So that way I only had to do the designs on either side. I thought it was fun. June, I did a butterfly theme. And then I did it because there's a cover of a book called Social Creature that I want to reread this year. And the cover of Social Creature has a butterfly on it. So butterfly theme and then Social Creature quote. How fun. It says, "Stupidity, like happiness, is a luxury." Hilarious. So anyways, I did the same thing here where I did the butterflies on either side. Some of these are stickers. This is a sticker. These are drawings. You can tell they're drawn. This one's drawn. I'm pretty proud of this one. This one too, she's cute. But most of my drawings are very wonky. I'm not very good at drawing. But anyways, same thing where it has like the meal plan, the to-do list, and then watch list is like movies and TV shows that I watch because I like to keep track of that. I have Letterboxd, but I'm not very good at updating it. And it doesn't have TV shows, which is annoying. July, I'm really proud of this one. I cut out the letters and it's cheetah print. Isn't she fun? And this says, "One must have hobbies or else the mind atrophies." And that's a quote from Silver Nitrate by Sylvia Moreno Garcia, another book that I want to reread this year. So this will be my TBR spread. And then this is the calendar. And each of these panels has weeklies. But this one I doubled the weeklies because I didn't have enough pages to do it the way I normally do. But I thought that would be fine. So that's what I did there. This is where I fucked up. Okay, so after July, as we all know, is August. This was supposed to be my August theme. I started the theme, and then when I was writing out the lettering, I did the lettering wrong, but I'd already colored it in with markers before I realized that I lettered the wrong month. So we have September, which is cute, right? Some flowers, some scrap. I'm trying to get more into like the scrapbooking thing. I'm not great, but I think it looks cute. And this is where I, again, repeated these types of spreads from April with different colors that were on the title page, which I thought was fun. And then August this is what was supposed to be September's theme. Okay, mushrooms. But here we are, August, because I had a bunch of mushroom stickers. So that's what I did. Again, she's cute. This will be my TBR spread for August. And these are the weeklies for August. And that's the last one that I did. So I'm on October now. And I don't know exactly what I'm going to do for the theme for October. But I think I'm going to do something like water adjacent, but like darker water than the swimmers. So that's that. Maybe the ocean, who knows? And then November, I don't know what theme I'm gonna have for that either. That's why I haven't done these. I haven't thought of good themes. And again, all of my themes are related to books that I'm trying to reread this year. So another book that I want to reread this year is The Silver Linings Playbook. I don't want to do like an Eagles theme. Ballroom dance? How would I do that as a theme? Anyways, so that's the bullet journal. That's the reading update. And I'm gonna go finish this audiobook because I have like just over an hour left of it. And then I'll come back with my final thoughts when I'm finished. Hi. So I feel like in this lighting, this blush looks crazy, but it looks normal in other lighting. Anyways, I finished the Blaze Wrath games and I gave it 2.5 stars. I rounded up to 3 on Goodreads. It's fine. Everything that I said before still stands. I really liked the ending of it actually. But it is part of a duology. I'm not going to read the second book. It doesn't end on enough of a cliffhanger for me to care, to be honest with you. So that's sort of where I stand with that. I've started Ink Mistress by Audrey Coulthurst, which I just looked up on Goodreads, and it's actually the like prequel to a series. So I'm not sure how that's going to affect my read of it. So it was published after the first book, but before the second book. And this is a duology again. The first book is Of Fire and Stars, and the second book is Of Ice and Shadows. And I believe they're not, like, the second books aren't following, or the other books don't follow the same characters. So I'm curious to see how this is going to go. I'll read you the Goodreads description. It's sapphic, which is all I know so far. I've read 3 chapters. But it says, Azra is a demigod with a dangerous gift, the ability to dictate the future by writing with her blood. To keep her power a secret, she leads a quiet life as a healer on a remote mountain, content to help the people in her care and spend time with Aina, the mortal girl she loves. But Azra's peaceful life is upended when bandits threaten Aina's... I'm saying Aina, they pronounce it Ina in the audiobook, but I'm saying Aina because that's like Ina Garner. Anyways, when bandits threaten Aina's village and the king does nothing to help. Desperate to protect her people, Aina begs Azra for assistance in finding her manifest, the animal she'll be able to change into as her rite of passage to adulthood. Azra uses her blood magic to help Aina, but her spell goes horribly wrong and the bandits destroy the village, killing Aina's family. That hasn't happened yet where I am, so there you go. But that's what's to come, I guess. Unaware that Azra is at fault, Aina swears revenge on the king and takes a savage dragon as her manifest. So that's where the dragon comes in. To stop her, Azra must embark on a journey across the kingdom, becoming a player in lethal games of power among assassins, gods, and even the king himself. Most frightening of all, she discovers the dark secrets of her own mysterious history and the terrible, powerful legacy she carries in her blood. So this is tagged as fantasy, young adult, LGBT romance. So I'm excited to read this one. I'm liking the writing style a lot more. I think I mentioned with both of the last 2 books the first book that I tried to read and then I've set down. I might come back to it. It just depends on how fast I can get through these. Most of these are audiobooks, like I mentioned. The only one that's not is the Edna Fisher one, which I do need to read more of. I haven't yet. I've been focusing on audiobooks so I can do other things, but I'm probably going to read more of that tonight. I don't know if I'm going to get to the last book that I said I was going to read for this, which I'm not even remembering the name of right now. I'm hopeful that I will. That's why I'm reading this one first, because it's shorter. The other one's audiobook is 17 hours long. This one's 10 hours long. So I can read this one in like 3 hours-ish. So the hope is that I will finish this one tonight, read more of that Edna Fisher book, and then maybe start the other audiobook tomorrow. It just depends on what time my husband gets home, because I don't really want to continue this vlog into next week because I do want this to go up on Monday. It did not go up on Monday. But I did film my TBR today, so I could put that up on Monday if this isn't ready yet and have this go up on Thursday. We'll just see. The plan for this was for it to be a weekend reading vlog. So I like this one more. I obviously haven't seen where the dragon comes in yet. I like the dragons in Blaze Wrath games. And I don't think I mentioned this when I was talking about it, but our main character in that, she's not a magic user and she doesn't have like a dragon. In that one, the dragon's like imprint on people, kind of like the other book that I was talking about that I ended up not finishing. But the dragons are like born and then they go find their person who's like their soulmate kind of. And then those are the people who ride the dragons in the game. They have this dragon that is like attached to them and they have like a mental link. And so we got that link described, but we're in the head of a girl who doesn't have that. And so that also, I think, was a disservice to that book. Like, part of it, and like, it's kind of cool that in that book, we're following someone who, her name's Lana. She's not part of the magic. She's just like a regular person in this world. So it's kind of cool, but like, the cool thing about the world is the magic. And so to follow, it'd be like reading Harry Potter from the perspective of a muggle. You know, like, it's just not as interesting. Or I guess from the perspective of a squib in Harry Potter, because someone who doesn't have magic but is in the magical world, which maybe would be interesting. I don't know. But I'm going to read Ink Mistress. I will let you know how it goes, and I will let you know if I plan on continuing in the series or not when I finish it. And I will also keep you updated on the remarkable retirement of Edna Fisher as I read more of that. But that's it for right now. I think I'm going to order myself dinner because I ate. So I have the way I do dinner at my house is I make things that are batched big enough to where I can eat leftovers in the next days. So I have something that I can technically eat for dinner tonight. It's 6:45, that's why I'm bringing this up. I have something that I can technically eat for dinner, but I had leftovers of the same thing for lunch. And I don't know if I want to do lunch and dinner, same meal. So it's like a chickpea stew. It's very good, but I might DoorDash myself something. I'm kind of feeling feisty. Hello, it is now 3 p.m. on Sunday. I don't think I've updated at all today, but I did finish Ink Mistress this morning. So I actually really enjoyed this one. It's like a fantasy book, obviously with dragons, but let me grab this actually, hold on one second. So this one is about a woman or a girl, I guess, it's YA again, but she is a demigod. And at the beginning of the book, she's got this like sapphic relationship with a girl from the village, and her guardian of sorts has recently passed away, and so she's on her own for the first time, and her guardian always kept her away from people because of these abilities that she has, which you don't really know a ton about at the beginning, but essentially like her blood is magical, so if people find out, then they can use her blood against her. And then the like humans in this world have, I'm gonna forget what it's called now, but they basically have like an animal that they can turn into, but you develop it through like puberty, or that's like the way that you become an adult. And so this girl from the village that she's had this relationship with for a few summers comes back to her and basically tells her like, I need help getting one of these animal things. I wish I could remember what they're called. They're not familiars. I can't remember what they are, but you like turn into it. She's like, I need help getting this because if I don't have help getting it, I can't get married. And she really wants to be an elder in her community. And so our main character feels very betrayed by this because she's been in love with this girl and she doesn't want this girl to marry someone else, but she agrees to help her because she loves her. And she ends up helping her become a dragon. And then when she does this, something goes wrong with the spell, and it like causes these bandits to attack the village that this girl lives in, and all of her family die. And that makes this girl, her name's Aina, get really mad at the king and decide that she's going to use her dragon form to take down this king. And the rest of the book is about the main character, whose name is Azra, trying to figure out a way to prevent this from happening. Whether it's, I think at one point she wants to like go back, change the past so that none of this ever happens. And along the way she meets this guy named Hal, who is also a demigod, and he's the only one that she's ever met before. And she like learns more about her past and who her godparent is. I'm saying godparent, like the parent that's a god. And yeah, it was so good. It's a prequel to a series. It's a duology, I think. Fire and Stars is it's like of Fire and Stars and of Ice and something. And I know that those books don't follow the same characters, which is kind of a bummer because I really liked the characters in this book. But I think it's like this was the setup for what happens in those books. So I'm assuming that what happened in this book, if you read them in publication date order, I don't think the end of this book would be a spoiler to you, but maybe it would, because I haven't read the other ones, but I have added them to my TBR, which is kind of not a bummer. I'm excited to read them at some point, but I am trying to get my TBR done lower, so it's interesting that reading this has made me want to put other things. I don't know if I'm going to give it 4 or 5 stars, because it feels like a 4.5, but I could easily round it up to 5. Like, I had a great time with this book, but it probably is just a 4 now that I'm thinking about it. But I'm so pleasantly surprised. I'm so glad that something went well. I've read a little bit more of the Edna Fisher book. She has become the chosen one. She's on an adventure to find this sword. And it's interesting, you also get perspectives in that book of the, like, villain's assistant. So the villain is this guy, gosh, I'm not going to remember, Red, I think is his name. Or is Red his dragon's name? I can't remember, but the villains are the ones who have the dragons in this one. So it is like cute and quirky in the writing. It's good. I'm excited to like continue reading that one. As I predicted, I don't think I'm gonna finish this vlog today because we are going to watch the Chiefs game at our friend's house tonight. I'm gonna try to read as much of the Edna Fisher book as I can before we go. And then I might actually take a break from reading for right now because I might edit my TBR for February, so that way that will go up on Monday and then this can be Friday's video or Thursday's video. But I just want to give you that update. I'm pleasantly surprised that I enjoyed Ink Mistress as much as I did, and I have officially DNF'd Rebel Wing. Kind of a bummer, but also I was not enjoying it, so I'm not going to force myself to keep reading it, but I will let you know when I have another update soon. Hello, it's Monday night and I'm about 2/3 of the way through the audiobook for To Shape a Dragon's Breath by Monoquill Blackgoose, which is historical fantasy, I guess. So it's set in the 1800s. I think it's the 1840s. In the Americas, but they're not like, it's not like the US as we know it now, or like as it even was in the 1840s. It's like a colonizer society, which I know is like kind of the same, but it's like Norse colonizers, if that makes sense. So there's a lot of like Norse mythology and culture. And then the main character is this girl who is indigenous, and she, her like family and community, or like they live on an island, and 200 years ago they had dragons, and then they haven't had dragons in like 200 years because all the dragons have died. And so other places around the world still have dragons. And then one day, this girl, I think she's like 15, I can't remember her name off the top of my head for some reason, but she finds a dragon egg. And when the dragon hatches, it chooses her as like its person. And so she has a bond with this dragon, and then she has to report it to this government entity, and then she has to go to school to learn how to train this dragon and like make sure the dragon's not dangerous. And like also she has to learn how to do, it's called shaping the dragon's breath. So she has to learn how to do this. And she doesn't really want to go to this school because it's on the mainland, and they call it English. That's what the society is, it's English. She doesn't want to really do this. Like, she never really wanted to leave her island. She didn't want to leave her people. But she does it because she needs to learn how to do this to keep everybody safe. And so that's what's going on. And she's eventually, I think, going to figure out how to do it. And then like her plan ultimately is to go back to the island. And hopefully there will be more dragons eventually. And she will be able to teach people how to shape the dragon's breath. This is really like, it's good. I don't really love the audiobook narrator. She keeps doing like weird voices for characters, which is just, for me, not something that I love. I feel like it makes it harder for me to listen to it. It's not as bad when it's not focusing on the like teachers, because that's what she seems to do it for the most. But there's another native guy named Theod who is one of the dragon people as well. And so she meets him at the school, and then there's only one other girl in the whole school, and I'm not gonna remember her name either. Marta, I think is her name. And so she and Marta are roommates, and they're like becoming friends kind of. There's this guy Xander who nobody really likes because he's weird, I don't know, and he doesn't really like to talk, so he uses a pen and paper to write down what he wants to say so he doesn't have to speak out loud. And our main character makes friends with him. There's also like an indentured servant maid who the main character has a bit of a like love thing with. So there's like romantic subplots in this book, but it's the main character having a romantic subplot, it feels like, with everybody. And just because of that, I like don't really feel invested in any of it, which is fine. But anyways, I'm almost done with this one. Something really interesting has happened, but obviously we're at the 2/3 point, so I'm not going to tell you what it is. But it is like pretty exciting. And I know that this book has a sequel coming out this year. So we'll see if I decide I want to keep reading it. I don't know if it's going to be like part of a larger series or if it's just a duology. But I'm excited to finish it. So I will let you know when I finish this one. And then I'm still working on the Edna Fisher book. I read a little bit more of it this morning before I got out of bed. It's still plodding along. It's still an 83-year-old woman trying to be the chosen one. I won't lie to you. My loan at my library will automatically return in 2 days. And I'm not putting it on hold again because I don't care enough to finish reading it. So it's possible that I'll DNF this one. I just like, it's fine, but it's fine. You know what I mean? So anyways, that's where I'm at right now, and I will let you know when I have another update soon. Hello, Editing Mary here. It's time for me to close out this vlog. So I, as predicted, did DNF the remarkable retirement of Edna Fisher. I don't care enough to finish it, so I'm not going to. I did finish To Shape a Dragon's Breath by Mona Quill Blackgoose, and I really enjoyed this one. I gave it 4 stars. I thought it was a very solid read. I am going to read the second book. The thing that gives me pause about this series, I guess, is I thought it was building up for a love triangle. It actually seems like it's building up for a polyamorous relationship. And given how little I cared for the romantic subplots in the first book, if that is going to become a more prominent part of the story, I don't know how I'm going to feel. But there's still enough plot to keep me intrigued. It is like a magic school setting, which I really like. It's like a dragon school setting, which I think is fun. And this was just the first year of classes, was the first book. So I am excited to keep reading that series. But all in all, I DNF'd 2 things for this vlog. I DNF'd Rebel Wing by Andrea Tang and The Remarkable Retirement, of Edna Fisher by, I don't E.M. something, doesn't matter. I don't recall. But I DNF'd both of those books. They just weren't for me. I gave The Blaze Wrath Games by Amparo Ortiz 2.5 stars and decided to take the rest of that series off my TBR. Then I read Ink Mistress, and that one is actually my favorite still. I gave it 4.5 stars. I rounded it down to 4 on Goodreads, but I did enjoy it more than I enjoyed To Shape a Dragon's Breath. for different reasons. That one, Ink Mistress, the romantic subplot really worked for me, and I really liked all of the characters, and the plot was like interesting, and etc, etc. My favorite dragons were into Shape of Dragon's Breath because our main character has a dragon that is like she is responsible for, and that has chosen her as its person, which is kind of what I was wanting from the other books that I wasn't really getting. So I really enjoyed that. And the dragon is basically like a puppy at this stage. Like it's a baby dragon that she's responsible for, which I just really enjoyed. So again, 4 stars to that one. And that is gonna close out this vlog. So I hope you enjoyed this vlog. If you watched it to the end, leave me a fire emoji in the comments down below. Unless there was a dragon emoji. I don't think there is though, but a fire emoji there definitely is. If you would like to, you can subscribe to my channel. I do try to post 2 videos every week, and I will see you in another one very soon. Bye!